President Ali calls attention to widespread devastation created by extensive flooding. Multiple vehicles smash up on the LINDEN-SOESDYKE highway. New Amsterdam Psychiatric Hospital fire, several injured, one missing. In the region, Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister looking to reopen borders. And internationally, dozens killed as two trains collide in southern Pakistan. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. His Excellency, Dr. Irfan Ali, has called attention to the widespread devastation created by extensive flooding throughout several regions of the country and lamented the loss of livelihood and the destruction of homes and farms. The head of state said, quote, "You may not know what is happening. Many of our brothers and sisters across the Guyana are faced with the worst disaster we have ever had or they have ever had in the history of our country. Everything they've worked for all their life has disappeared." End of quote. The president explained that hundreds of homes have been ruined while thousands of farms have been destroyed. President Ali emphasized not to underestimate the scale of the disaster, while further stating how fortunate Region 4 East Coast residents are owing to the effectiveness of the Hope Canal and its ability to take off massive volumes of water. Over the last 2 weeks, the head of state has traversed many affected communities, including those in Regions 3, 5, 6, 7, and 10, to meet with affected residents and gauge firsthand the impact of the flooding on their lives and livelihood. A multiple vehicular smash-up on the LINDEN-SOESDYKE highway has left one dead and several others injured. Here is more from Esther Silvers.
A three-vehicular collision on Sunday night on the LINDEN-SOESDYKE highway has left one man dead and several others severely injured. Dead is 48-year-old Mark Alt, a bus driver of Republic Drive, Betrafawaktin, East Coast, Darara. According to a police statement, the accident occurred around 8:30 p.m. in the vicinity of Dora Public Road. The police noted Alt was driving his minibus PKK 386s proceeding north along the road when a hire car HC 9662 driven by 51-year-old Linden Lamazon ended up in his path. The resulting collision caused Alt to lose control of his minibus, which slammed into motorcar PLL 3468 driven by 61-year-old Julian Elliott, who was transporting two occupants. The bus driver was picked up in an unconscious condition and taken to the Mackenzie Public Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Meanwhile, Julian Elliott and the occupants of his motor car, Akimo Elliott and Candace Gordon, were also taken to the Mackenzie Public Hospital and are currently under observation. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. The Civil Defense Commission has distributed almost 30,000 food and cleaning hampers across the country to flood-affected victims. Most of the hampers were distributed in severely affected regions 5, 6, 9, and 10. Shelters have also been established in regions 9 and 10 to provide a hospitable space for households greatly affected by the flooding. The CDC said it has been receiving relief supplies and financial assistance from the private sector, citizens, and various non-governmental organizations to aid its humanitarian efforts of providing relief to flood-affected residents. The Commission today received a check valued at $200,000 from Vera 66 Logistics. Bonnie Singh, Managing Director of Hardware Depot, donated 15 cases of bleach and 2,000 face masks and used the opportunity to plead with Guyanese to donate whatever they can to help flood-affected households. Director General of the CDC, Lieutenant Colonel Kester Craig, who received the contribution, expressed gratitude to the local entities for their support. Stick around, we've got more news for you after the break.
Here's what's happening on Waterloo Street at John Lewis Styles during the month of June. Shop for Father's Day and you could win an all-inclusive trip for two to Arrow Point Nature Resort. Buy any men's suit and get a free tie, or buy any men's pair of shoes and get a free pair of socks. Traveling this summer? Buy any luggage set and get a free travel pouch. Visit us on Waterloo Street for more choices and better prices. John Lewis Styles. Simply different.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 4-6 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Tastes so good. It's gotta be made with Alabama Baker wheat flour. Produced from quality soft winter wheat and quality enzymes to give a superior product that's guaranteed to be luscious, delightful to taste, and stays fresher longer. Alabama Baker wheat flour is perfect for breads, roti, puri, pastries, chow mein, pastas, and many other delights. Imported and distributed by Alabama Trading. 6566 Robb Street, Borda, and 23 Lombard Street. Telephone 225-5800.
Welcome to Kissoon's Furniture. Find everything you need for your home and more under one roof in our newly decorated showroom. Our locally crafted furniture has been perfected over the last 60 years. From our hands to your home, we also bring to you our newly introduced lines of imported furniture and sleep center, where you can find a wide range of beds and mattresses. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 60 years.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road, Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. A minibus owner was on Sunday arrested on the west coast of Demerara for disturbing the public's peace. Reports say that police went to Proline Barber Shop located at the Busshed Street, where minibus PSS 1973, owned and operated by 31-year-old Sukai Rubindra of Lot 12 Cordelia Ida, West Coast Demerara, was parked playing his music in a very loud manner to disturb the public's peace. He was cautioned, told of the offense committed, and escorted to the Lenora police station, where the minibus was lodged with the music set to be examined by the licensed certifying officer. Rubendra, failing to produce any documents for the minibus, was placed in custody pending charges. Meanwhile, a fire at the New Amsterdam Psychiatric Hospital has left several injured and one missing. Esther Sobers has that story.
On Saturday evening, a fire broke out at a New Amsterdam mental hospital in Berbice, leaving several inmates hospitalized while some escaped. Reports disclosed that sometime around 7 p.m., a fight broke out among 3 of the 31 male inmates housed in the Chalet 4 male admission ward. The matron, the supervisor, and 2 male nurses, upon investigating, noticed smoke coming from inside of the ward and heard patients shouting for help. The fire service was called in and were able to extinguish the fire, but during that time, the patients escaped from a southern door and 9 of them escaped from the institution. 7 of the men have been recaptured. 11 of the patients who received burns about their bodies were rushed to the New Amsterdam Hospital, where they were admitted and are in a stable condition. No fatalities recorded. Investigations are in progress. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. Also in Berbice, a 67-year-old pensioner died tragically last evening when his New Amsterdam home went up in flames. Dead is Martin Lindy when a fire of unknown origin destroyed the wooden upper flat of his 2-storied home. According to the victim's son-in-law, he received a phone call shortly before 11 p.m. on Sunday, informing him that the upper flat of his father-in-law's home is on fire. He called the New Amsterdam fire station. The fire tenders responded and extinguished the fire. However, as the firemen entered the upper flat of the building, they noticed Lindy's body lying motionless in the dining hall. Lindy was picked up and rushed to the New Amsterdam Public Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. His body is at the New Amsterdam Hospital mortuary awaiting a post-mortem examination. Investigations are ongoing. Don't go away. After the break, we have your regional and international news.
Problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome to Kissoon's Furniture. Find everything you need for your home and more under one roof in our newly decorated showroom. Our locally crafted furniture has been perfected over the last 60 years. From our hands to your home, we also bring to you our newly introduced lines of imported furniture and sleep center, where you can find a wide range of beds and mattresses. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 60 years.
For decades, milk has remained the same. Until now. Introducing the Great Dairy Full Cream Milk from Alabama Trading. Enriched with vitamins A to D and calcium to promote healthy teeth, strong bones, and vitality. Great Dairy Milk is delicious and fortified to encourage healthy cell growth within the body. No wonder it's the #1 brand of milk produced in Ireland. Now available nationwide in 400-gram packages at leading supermarkets and wholesale vendors. Distributed by Alabama Trading.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Here's what's happening on Waterloo Street at John Lewis Styles during the month of June. Shop for Father's Day and you could win an all-inclusive trip for two to Arrow Point Nature Resort. Buy any men's suit and get a free tie, or buy any men's pair of shoes and get a free pair of socks. Traveling this summer? Buy any luggage set and get a free travel pouch. Visit us on Waterloo Street for more choices and better prices. John Lewis Styles. Simply different.
Saturday said it hoped to reopen the borders within the next 4 to 6 weeks as the country acquires more vaccines to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. So far, 556 persons have died and 25,801 others have been infected in Trinidad and Tobago. The Prime Minister of the Twin Island Republic, Dr. Keith Rowley, said that the discussion would be held with officials of the state-owned Caribbean Airlines regarding the resumption of scheduled flights from the country's two main international airports. Quote, because it is the government's position that within the next 4 to 6 weeks we would do away with the border closure agreement an exemption system because as we vaccinate and as vaccination has been accelerated in North America in particular, the situation is different now. End of quote. Rowley also noted it was the intention of the government to have a full vaccination program in place over the next 12 weeks as the country acquires vaccines from African Union platform, COVAX, and the United States. Meanwhile, Peru on Sunday closed out its most polarized presidential electoral contest in its democratic history with a result margin so narrow that a winner cannot be announced yet. Al Jazeera's Marina Sanchez reports.
They came however they could, in wheelchairs, on crutches, with the help of their loved ones. A social media campaign had called on the older generation of Peruvians to get out and vote.
Clearly, we are in a critical situation for the country. We can fall in the abyss. We are all responsible to get out of this situation. That's why we brought our father-in-law to help us out on this vote.
Sunday's runoff election put voters at a crossroads. The choice, either Keiko Fujimori on the extreme right of the political spectrum or Pedro Castillo on the extreme left. At this school in central Lima, Paola Loaiza knows the importance of her vote.
I feel more patriotic than ever because the future of our country is at stake.
In the capital, Lima, where Keiko Fujimori is expected to do well, the turnout was high.
Don't be afraid, we will come out of this united.
In Tacabamba, a remote Andean district in northern Peru, hundreds of people escorted Pedro Castillo to the polling station.
We have to be citizens without fear, hatred, worries. Above all is the well-being of Peru.
Peru's been hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic. More than 185,000 people have died. 2.5 million have lost their jobs. They want to know what the future holds. Peruvians are anxiously awaiting for the final result of the election. And once it's over, they will start demanding results on healthcare and the economy. Whether the new government can deliver will still for many be open to question.
I'm not afraid because whoever wins, we, the working class, will continue working. We know elections favour businesses, but for us it's always the same. Our lives will not change.
What many voters say they're looking for is a president to represent all Peruvians. Mariana Sanchez, Al Jazeera, Lima, Peru.
And internationally, the UK has been accused of abandoning some of the world's most vulnerable people after its decision to cut the foreign aid spending by $5 billion. Britain is the world's third largest international donor after the US and Germany. Al Jazeera's Nuvia Barker reports.
When G7 leaders assemble here in Cornwall on Friday, it will be a chance for Britain to burnish its reputation overseas after the turmoil of Brexit. In the past few months, the UK shifted its foreign policy away from Europe to India, Japan and Australia. The government has spent billions of dollars on this state-of-the-art aircraft carrier, currently on a world tour, bringing British sea power to the reaches of its former empire. But where Britain used to lead the way in supporting the world's most vulnerable people, the government's now under fire for slashing its foreign aid budget by $5.5 billion, including relief for Yemen, the world's worst humanitarian disaster, where cash-strapped projects are facing closure. The cuts also affect aid to the UN children's agency UNICEF and other life-saving projects in Syria, Ethiopia and Afghanistan. Hundreds of charities, academics and activists have signed a joint letter urging the government to reconsider.
It doesn't make any sense economically, financially, politically, diplomatically, of course morally, or in the humanitarian consequences of it. And I'm very much afraid that something that we're told is temporary will become permanent.
The British Foreign Office says the cuts are part of a strategic shift in government spending, a response to the economic shock caused by the global pandemic. The suggestion is that when the worst is over, that spending on foreign aid will steadily increase. Despite the pandemic, official international development assistance in 2020 rose to its highest level ever. The US is the biggest aid donor, followed by Germany. Britain is third.
all the other G7 countries are at least maintaining, if not increasing their aid. So Germany, France, Japan, the US, they're all increasing their aid despite times being tough at home, while the UK is decreasing. So it's isolating itself just when it needs to be leading the way.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson now faces a major rebellion about the cuts, with a growing number of MPs, including the former Prime Minister Theresa May, backing an amendment to force the government to make up the shortfall. When it comes to foreign aid, a growing number of voices are urging Britain to lead from the front. Neve Barker, Al Jazeera, London.
And finally, at least 40 people have been killed and more than 120 injured after a train collision near the southern Pakistani town of Dekari. Officials says the rescue work still underway to find survivors trapped in the debris. Al Jazeera's Alexi O'Brien reports.
Heavy machinery works to lift the mangled wreckage of the two trains and cut a path to rescue survivors. Crews toil in the blazing summer heat, offering any support they can to those still trapped. But it took hours for the equipment to get to Daharki, in a remote part of Pakistan's Sindh province, where fields turned into makeshift hospitals and bodies were lined up on the soil.
You can see that the rescue operation is going on. Soldiers from the military, rangers, district administration personnel and health teams are taking part.
The accident happened after the coaches of a northbound train derailed and fell across the opposite track. A packed southbound train ploughed into them. The driver of that train told local media he'd seen the derailed cars and tried to brake, but couldn't.
The train that was going towards Punjab collapsed, and the train called Sir Syed that was coming from Punjab collided with it. 7 to 8 rail carriages were destroyed. Many passengers are still trapped.
Huge crowds of people gathered around the carnage, some climbing on top to reach survivors and bodies. Dozens of people were taken to hospital, many in a critical condition. Prime Minister Imran Khan says he's shocked by the accident and promised a full inquiry into what happened. So far, authorities haven't ruled anything out, including sabotage. But rail accidents are common in Pakistan, where the network's seen decades of decline, blamed on corruption, mismanagement and a lack of investment. At least 75 people died when a train caught fire while travelling from Karachi to Rawalpindi 2 years ago. While 19 people died in 2016 when a passenger train crashed into another. The Information Minister's tweeted he has a plan for a revamped rail system and that it's a priority for the government. Alexi O'Brien, Al Jazeera.
And Al Jazeera's Kamal Haider has more now from Islamabad.
This is a remote region, it's very dry, it's peak summer, and the fact that it is a difficult job when you're removing such heavy equipment as rail carriages. Of course, the first tragedy that happened was the fact that this was a remote region and it took several precious hours for the rescue teams, including the heavy lift equipment, to reach the spot. And even now we are told that the rescue mission is still underway. The search, of course, is for those who may be trapped under the wreckage or may be trapped inside the wreckage, because this is going to be a difficult task. But the majority of the people have been taken away, those that have been injured, to local hospitals. This is a remote region. Even in the best of times, medical facilities there are not good, and therefore the likelihood that we may see the death toll rising even higher.
And that is it for today's regional and international news. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. And that is all for this edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. Tune in on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, stay safe and take care.